What are you doing here all alone? So, how's it been for you so far, Ada? Yeah. At the very least, it's a pretty, easy deal. It's an easy solution. That's cool. Oh yeah, I think there's been, there's 50 in-game now. And I think the lowest is like 24. So, but it's been going since launch, more or less, so I think. It hasn't dropped below 20. Oh well, it's always way lower than people who are interested. PAX experience, if you recall. Yeah, 50 is pretty much on the low end. But again, it's best to be over-prepared in terms of server capacity than under. And we had quite a few deployment troubles. Yes. No, we're still very much caught up in critical issues. People not being able to log into the launcher. And some other stuff related to game servers. Oh yeah, I mean it is. Oh yeah, that's pretty informative, but some cool info to get in there. Right. Hey, it'll be interesting. I quickly need to check something. My stats might suffer because I've been trying to be the support guy. Oh no, there's been no DMs. It's all been on here. It's all on here. for better or worse, but I think it's probably better. Oh, for sure. It'll add a bit more rhythm, I agree. Although, you know, it's pretty cool. It's been non-stop active since the launch. Right, it's never dropped below 24-ish players, I think. True, though, you know, that place has like 4,000 members. And doing well. Oh yeah, there's 11,000 total registered. Though, you know, I think right now there's been 300 or 500 unique users, maybe, since the beta launch. It's an overlay on your machine. It's nothing to do with the client. It's not part of the client. That's the maximum FPS it'll do, 122. I mean, if it's your screen refresh rate you want, you can turn on VSync. If you turn on VSync, it'll go to the refresh rate of your screen. If you can enable capped smooth frame rate, if that's enabled in the innies, you can change the maximum it'll go to. Although, you know, the maximum on that is 122. Even if you input like 500 FPS, it won't go past 122 in a match. Yeah, it's probably gonna be fine. There you go, it's a full match. So how's ping been for you? Right, but any you know, lags, any hiccups? Yeah, we tried. But this also might have been, you know, a raider in Blitz or in A-class. You're afraid gold is going to return. Kind of ruining my stats because I keep having to alt tab for support or checking other things. So, how's been progression for you? Right, alright, that's fair. That's fair. But it's not that intrusive, is it? Right, right. But I mean, you know, this one's pretty fast. I mean, again, if you want a weapon that's locked at level 3, you'll have to play like 2 matches, maybe 3. I think those are kind of realistic time frames that where you could say, yeah, I'll do that, right? Like 2 matches, yeah, I'll have 2 matches in me. I'll just do those instead of you need 600 matches. Right. Oh, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, personally, I'm kind of the cosmetic only guy, right? Yeah. No, I'm just, you know, that's not terrible, right? I mean, I'm sure you'd be complaining about it if we added the original back, which, I mean, that's not, we're never gonna, was never on the table, really, I think. I think anyone would have wanted that. Exactly as it was, yeah. Yeah, it's also supposed to, you know, people are supposed to play it, and it's not supposed to be an exact, you know, wax museum of what it used to be.
Yo,
No, I mean,
so
that's the result of the server.
can we go and further increase the amount of rewards so it's even less grind, please?
Even more than now.
I mean, it's actually not that bad. It's way, dude. Before it was fucking awful.
I mean, yeah, I don't know if
It took like what 40 games, 50 games to go in and max out a mech or some shit.
Yes. And now,
Like now, I can go in and then unlock like the important stuff on a mech after what, like 5 games.
I mean, look, if you want a weapon at level 3, you'll need to play like 3 matches. You know, if you're doing
Yeah.
good, maybe 2. I think that's fair.
I think that's pretty fair. It's because it's way better. The grind used to be awful.
Yes. And I was just discussing that, you know, if I want people to play it, it's again, this is not supposed to be a dead museum where you recreate the original progression 1-to-1 because it's, you know, as a recreation for preservation's sake. We want people to play and enjoy it, and it's as an effort for the community, which is why we had the community vote on it. And yeah, the result is that the majority wants progression, but nobody wants grind. And what we have now is more or less. That's true, though the survey results pretty much say that a lot of people want gameplay items to be locked by progression, which kind of stunned me a little bit. But I think
I mean, you
overall,
want something to work for. You don't want to just jump in and like, oh look, I got all the mechs, and then it's just boring.
well, I was about to say, like personally, I'm also the cosmetic only crowd, right? Like ideally I think the playing field should be even, but for the people that like progression or even grind, you know, the cosmetics are like a huge like win, right? Because people can kit out their mechs and flex that way, but it's a purely visual element.
By the way, is there any way to actually add new cosmetics to the game?
Not at this time. Nothing is impossible, and you know we'll look into it when we have less stuff on our hands to address.
I mean, I was just curious if it was even possible at all because I
Well,
don't know how much work and like what's required.
in terms of well, the thing is, it requires client-side modding, which you know it's not impossible. right? Because the cosmetics are stored in the client packages, APKs. And
So there could be a way to do it.
well, there is ways to do it, but they are varied by what you want to do and the complexity and the time required to implement.
And that's fair.
If you want to replace, say, a texture, that's possible, although there's some snags that you could run into, even there. But what's really difficult and kind of unpredictable, so it's out of scope for the time being, is expanding, right? Adding more content on top of the one that's already there,
Yeah.
instead of replacements.
Yeah,
Because
I
that
figured
requires
that was going to be very hard.
Yeah, because that requires hooking up a bunch of additional things, right? Because like let's say all pilot emblems are hooked up inside the game as like a list. Okay, great. If you replace an item in that list, that's pretty straightforward. If you want to expand the size of the list, that's where you got to do extra work. And again, it's probably not, nothing's impossible, but right now we're focused on the more important stuff. Yes. Starting with the launcher. This packs already. Well, it's still up, I didn't change anything. That's true. That's the trade you have to make. I'll tab, they got killed again.
I would really, what would be really cool is if, let's say, for example, a year from now, you guys manage to squash a bunch of the bugs and stuff.
Yeah.
Which, maybe that's possible, maybe it isn't possible, but this is just for talking, right? And you guys are like, you know what? You ask the community, it's like, what would you guys want? Do you want to add something new to the game, like a mech or textures, or do you want to have a new map?
New maps are completely out of the question for the
Oh, really?
foreseeable future.
Okay.
Yes. I know.
And
essentially.
the reason why is because you can't build them and import them into the game. Is that why?
Well, here's the thing. So, HAWKEN is built on Unreal Engine 3.
Yep.
Technically, there's editors available for Unreal Engine 3 called UDK, Unreal Development Kit.
Yeah.
That's the free version. Because back in the day, there used to be two sort of schemes, right? The free scheme, which only allowed you to write an Unreal script, the game's scripting language, which was free for everyone. But if you wanted to be professional, you got a license from Epic. And this license meant that you had access to the Unreal 3 source code. And if you made a game, you essentially forked the Unreal Engine 3 tree from Epic, and then modified the source to whatever you needed for your game. And then that sort of project that you built, you compile that, and when you compile it, you get the editor, which is going to be the custom editor for your game. It's just a slightly modified Unreal editor. Now, naturally,
but
this client here is just a compiled exe, and there's no source code to HAWKEN. And even if, something was floating around, we can't use it, right? It needs to be clean room. It needs to be legally sound. So,
and then you guys also would have to spend an exorbitant amount of time basically reverse engineering the code to even do anything with it.
Well, if you had the source code and assuming it was legal to have it, right, you just have to get it to compile, and then you have an editor in which you can build stuff. But you don't. So it might be theoretically possible to have it load like a gray box map from a UDK with a lot of work still. But what you really want is that the maps that you would theoretically build would use HAWKEN's assets and systems. And that really isn't gonna be feasible. Really.
I figured I'd ask. I don't, because I don't know.
Sure, yeah, fire away. It's fine. We don't mind questions.
Dude, that would actually be fucking amazing. Let's go and have Peach's Castle on it.
Again, I think short term. Well, the shortest term is obviously getting things stable. There's some snags with the launcher. That's like priority 0, more or less. Right?
Yeah, like
Some
people not
people,
being able to log in for some
yeah, that
fucking
kind of
strange
stuff.
reason.
And some of it is UX too, right? It's a sort of bare minimum implementation to get the launch ready. Obviously, we can improve how clear the launcher is, and what needs to be done, so more people can easily pick up and play without being confused. But obviously, there's some content in this game client already, right? The chip of this client, and some of it was never released. That might just need some backend data, or is even in the backend data but needs to be patched up a bit and re-enabled, right? Some skins, some cosmetics. I don't know if you recall, but there's like
Yeah, I
Chinese
remember
New
you
Year
saying
stuff.
something about that.
Yes, there's like, for example, like Chinese New Year booster or like a Christmas item. They're probably like in the game files, right? But they're stuff in the game
Oh, I guess then
files
we're
doesn't show up in the client because the client is pulling a lot of data from the backend, which specifies, what's in the market, what can you buy, what's unlocked, what's available on what platforms. So, some of that stuff might be missing, or is disabled, or incomplete, and fixing that up is still work, but it's just fixing up some data. So if you can get that running, you just re-enable items already in the client, which
no.
it'd
It has
be
to be up.
kind of no, it'd be new old content in that sense, but it'd still be something new for people to equip, for example. Like the Prestige Fred skin, right? The CRT, but there used to be like an alternate Fred for it. That's in the files. We just need to dig it up and get the backend data for it.
What kind of, are there like cosmetics that were never released that are in this client?
Yes,
Oh, really?
I think so. Well, I don't know, cosmetics. There's certainly some game items, right? I don't know the exact type, whether it's mech parts or just camo. There's also some stuff. The question is also the definition of never released. I'm not sure or completely caught up on in what capacity some of these were released, if at all, right? But one example comes to mind. There used to be an Nvidia camo, right? Green Nvidia logo.
Oh,
That's in the files. Obviously not available at the moment, because it's missing. Like, it's not in the backend data, right? So you need to get some of that stuff.
how hard is it to get the backend data for some of these things? Is it really hard?
No, it's mostly just huge JSON and a bunch of interlinked stuff. Bunch
So
of
it's like
IDs.
you rewiring things basically. Like you're just going in and saying you need to go here, 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 here. All right,
Yeah, you
now you're
have,
good.
like, you have an instance of you have a game item, and then there can be instances of that game item, and they have a bunch of properties. Some of that may be, what index in an asset list it is in the game client, right?
Hmm.
How it shows up in the store. Does it do it at all? How much money does it cost? Is it enabled, disabled? All that stuff. Some of this data might
Interesting.
be flying around. Our current backend data isn't the cleanest, but that's something to fix up for sure. And
I mean, to be honest, I got to go and say that even though there were some bugs and stuff like that, the launch actually went pretty freaking well.
well, could have gone smoother. We
Could have. It could have gone a lot worse for sure. But like, dude, I played last night for like 4 hours.
That's true. There was a massive issue in how this server deployment worked, which only popped up last minute, and we didn't expect. Which is why the servers didn't all go online at the same time, or sometimes, there was like one going on and off for a little bit. It was kind of a staggered, launch with the nodes coming online
No, no.
slowly. Which is kind of annoying because we did prepare all of the servers beforehand, but the step that we wanted to perform on them didn't work, so we essentially had to reset everything up live, one by one. We had to throw away what we prepared.
It's amazing how well or best laid plans by mice and men are ruined in the last second.
Yes. If everything would have gone according to plan, there would have been an announcement, and then there would have been 100 servers available immediately in all regions, with maybe a plus negative, like 2-minute delay maybe. But that's yeah, it would have been near instant and seamless. But of course that didn't work.
Well, I mean,
And
you tried.
of course
Did
the
you?
issue only popped up after, we're sitting here as like, okay, so that's, all the critical pre-launch tasks are done. We're just gonna run the final steps. And so, there's nothing that can go wrong anymore. So we'll just do the announcement. Right, so how much is this
Remember,
gonna take? Like 30, 60 minutes? Then we posted, and then we had issues.
remember that issue I was having where my machine was freezing, or where the game was freezing on me? It turns out
Yes.
it was the underclock I had on my video card.
Well, it's good to hear that it isn't the client. It would have
I
been more
turned that
surprising.
off. Issue went away.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, so because I'd be playing and then it would just like freeze. And
Right,
it
right,
would, yeah, like the game was crashing and then you let it sit. Like I would threaten it with the task manager and then it would 10 seconds later would work.
right. Oh well, yeah. So far, it's been a small but dedicated group of players.
Yeah, hopefully there's more people that come along.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I think with time, there might be an increase as word spreads and stability increases. But I think there's been non-stop activity, at least above 20 players since it launched. So 24/7, pretty much. Although it
Which is
hasn't.
actually which is actually kind of impressive, especially since it's just got launched.
It was higher. I think an hour ago it was around 50. It's 43 now. But yeah, it's generally always between 24 and 50. Right. Yeah, I mean we kind of slid into the North American launch window there. But that's a good thing, right? Because we operate on UTC+2, so like EU time. And but we can kind of cheat. Like we said it's on the 27th, but for the Americans, the 27th is like another 9 hours when we're already on the 28th. So if stuff takes longer, we're still on the 27th somewhere in the world. Yes. I mean, in hindsight, there could have been some time saved trying to sort things out, but in general, like we had to analyze the problem, and we didn't really know what was happening for quite a while.
Can I get a custom role in the Discord?
For what?
Just call it Omega.
We'll have to think about that.
Actually, make it Omega Pi Omega. It'd be a cool little Easter egg for someone going clicking on my name to be like, what?
We'll have to see. We need to agree on a deal first, but that takes some time.
I mean, what do you want? I can pay in body or soul.
We'll have to see. Not sure yet. We'll get back to you. Well, it's an assault, right? It's tough. But I mean, yeah, this is already pretty cool, right? Player base wise, even if it's small, it's very dedicated. I can just hop in any time, whether it's normal times for me or 3 in the morning, and there's people playing. No, don't bother. I don't think the numbers have changed. Yes, which, by the way, was a total coincidence that it coincided with what we did. Not sure. I guess you'll have to check out the changelog.
By the way, in general is where the Omega Pi Omega thing comes from.
Check it out in a bit. Gotta quickly sort something out. Oh, the match already ended. That's good. That gives me some time. Oh, it's 31-30? That's... Jesus. Pretty close. I mean, so far we outnumber the players in game servers, right? So every player can get 2 game servers for themselves. 2 empty ones, though.